सल्ले अला नबीना सल्ले अला मुहम्मदिन सल्ले अला नबीना सल्ले अला मुहम्मदिन सल्ले अला हबीबिना सल्ले अला मुहम्मदिन सल्ले अला रहीमिना सल्ले अला मुहम्मदिन
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا. I am grateful indeed to the Reverend Committee of this October gathering to have assigned me such a magnanimous commandment of Almighty Allah contained in this glorious book as Darsul Quran to be presented here in this blessed dawn. Proceed with the translation of the verse cited is as follows. O ye who believe, obey Allah and obey His Messenger and those who are in authority among you. And if you differ in anything among yourselves, refer it to Allah and His Messenger if you are believers in Allah and the last day. That is best and most commendable in the end. Holy Quran chapter 4 verse 16. This Quranic verse clearly exhorts us of the commandment of Allah about the purpose of our creation. It is crystal clear, referring to the Holy Quran, chapter 51, verse 57, as it says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونِ, meaning, and I have not created the jinn and the men, but that they may worship me. A deep glance at the theme of this verse ignites our minds to the fact that the only means to uphold sincerity in the true worship of Almighty Allah can alone be possible via the obedience to Him, His Messenger, and the authorities. It is more or less a binding and essential task assigned to mankind as such. Obedience, a charisma of every believer. عن ابن عمر رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: السمع والطاعة حق ما لم يؤمر بمعصية، فإذا أمر بمعصية فلا سمع ولا طاعة. Meaning, that Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu narrates that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was reported to have said that to hear and obey the authorities is binding as long as one is not commanded in disobedience to God. When one is commanded to disobey God, he shall not hear and obey. It is taken from Sahih Bukhari. Beloved elders, while the Prophet ﷺ was explaining the verse of my topic today, he said, the Holy Quran has commanded to obey Allah and the Messenger and those who are in authority among you. Some people interpret this command of the Holy Quran to mean obedience to Allah, His Messenger, and their rulers. That is, to obey only the Muslim ruler. The Prophet ﷺ referred to the same command and included all the rulers in the word minkum, that is, among you, who do not compare to follow the command against Sharia. He said, there is a clear command which is to obey the authority, and if anyone says that the government is not included in the text, minkum, that is, among you, then it is a clear mistake. Government that agrees with Sharia has entered the scope of the word minkum, that is, among you. He who does not oppose us is in minkum, that is, one of us. The Holy Quran, as an allusion to the text, proves that the government must be obeyed and then obeyed. It is taken from Mahfuzat, Volume 1, page 171. Among the people of today, we barely experience the renaissance of obedience practiced and modeled for us by our Holy Master, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It is worth alarming of mankind to save themselves from the brink of an irreversible pitfall, matching it with their own hands. The world will be harmonious until and unless obedience to Allah, His Messenger, and the authority is prioritized. Therefore, we as Muslims ought to realize and convey the true spirit of obedience as required of an ardent follower of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alaafin al-Khamis ayadahullah ta'ala binaslah said, if there are some conflict, it should be brought to Huzur's notice, but there should be no wavering in the spirit of obedience, as obedience needs to be carried out on every level for it to become a source of gratitude. Each Ahmadi, especially the office holders, should become excellent models. Friday Sermon, Huzur Sermon, 16th April 2010. In regard to the grandeur of obedience portrayed by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as Dr. Mir Muhammad Ismail Sahib of Delhi in his couplets writes, "Muqaddas hayati or mutahhar mazak, ita'at mayata, ibadat mita." He is taken from Baradah's poem.
Meaning, holy was his entire life, his sense of humor pure and wholesome. Fearless was he in
obedience, one of a kind in worship. Who can be referred as Ulul Amr? The Prophet ﷺ said, in worldly terms, Ulul Amr means a king, and in spiritual terms, it means the
Imam of the age. Since anyone who is not against our objectives and is physically useful to our cause
is one of us. That is why my advice to the Jamaat is that they should consider British rule as Ulul Amr and should obey them sincerely, for they do not interfere with our religious affairs. Rather,
we feel secure on account of their presence.
the scripture of Ijtema, from 13, page 493 to 494. The sole purpose of the advent of the Prophet ﷺ was to revive the Islamic faith and uphold the law of Sharia that serves as the guiding principle of mankind. To fulfill this magnanimous task, he made available numerous rational exegesis of the Holy Quran, and after him continues in the same manner by his Khulafa till this day. By the sheer grace of Almighty Allah, such has been happening amidst the community of the Messiah and Mahdi of this age. Thus, we are to peruse and act in concord with these blessings. Obedience to the Imam of the age, a demanding responsibility. The Imam of this age, in the personality of the Prophet ﷺ, once announced his 5 principles expected to be followed by the members of his community. He said, the first is to consider Almighty Allah as the only non-partner and free from all destined death, sickness, helplessness, pain, sorrow, and other incompetent elements. The second is to believe in our own Master, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the end of the chain of prophethood of Almighty Allah, and the one who brought the last law and revealed the true path of salvation. Thirdly, to preach the religion of Islam only with personal and heavenly signs, to consider the thoughts of waging war, jihad, and militant as absolutely unlawful, and forbidden for this time, and to obey and to declare the adherence of such thoughts as it may mistake. Fourthly, not to bring any corrupt ideas in the hearts of the British government, under the shadow of which we benefit from the trace of kindness, and to sincerely engage in its obedience. The fifth is to empathize with mankind and strive for the betterment of the world and the hereafter of every person as much as possible, and to hope for peace and harmony to spread morals in the world. This is taken from Kitab al-Bariyah, volume 13, page 347 to 348. Submission to the directives of the Khalifa of the time. Once that Abu Musa Ash'ari gave an edict with regard to Hajj, somebody told him to wait because the leader of the faithful, Hazrat Umar had said something different about it. Instantly, he directed people not to follow his edict and said, the leader of the faithful will be here any moment. We should follow him. It is taken from Sunan al-Nasai, Kitab al-Hajj. Beloved elders, I am pleased to read to your hearings that of an ardent admirer of Khilafat, the late Sayyid Talib Ahmad Sahib of blessed memory. Regarding him, in the sentiment of Abid Khan Sahib, His Holiness Ayatollah narrates, before departing from his trip to Africa, which had been according to the instructions of His Holiness Ayatollah, he made a detailed schedule of his daily work. He said that if ever he learned that the instruction of His Holiness Ayatollah was even slightly different from his own opinion, he would accept it wholeheartedly. Friday sermon, 3rd September 2021. If this rate of obedience and alienation of one's opinion can be expressed by this revered personality, then myself and yours stands no excuse in the sight of our Creator by not fulfilling the right of obedience to Allah, His Messenger, and the Khulafa. May Almighty Allah enable us to do so. Disagreeing with the Khalifa of the time is nothing but evil and wrong. The main cause of this incessant unrest and insecurity that maneuvers in our country today is due to nothing else but the lack of obedience to her authority. Take for instance the issue of killings, abductions, and lynching of human beings of the recent happenings that envelops all ends still remains fresh in our minds, which its cause is due to the lack of obedience in Allah, His Messenger, and the authorities. More so, wherever and whichever mind obedience disappears, unrest advantageously takes such a place as its abode. Therefore, in order to regulate peace and tranquility in Nigeria and beyond, adherence to obedience must be the utmost priority of every citizen. Hazrat Ammar was narrated in hadith before Hazrat Umar, but Hazrat Umar objected to it. Despite the certainty of narration, Hazrat Ammar kept silent and did not show any sign of disagreement with the Imam of the age. In utter remorse, he submitted, O leader of the faithful, if you say so, I will never report this hadith again. Sunan Abi Dawud, Kitab al-Bahat. It is said that when the tongue and the teeth disagrees with each other, it is so definite that the most very extent of its consequences at the end suffers in anguish, and that is none but the tongue. As the adage goes by the say, wherever two elephants fight, the grasses therein bounds to undergo sufferings. Such is the consequences of disagreeing with the Khalifa of the time. May Almighty Allah save us from this unwanted malady and strengthen our spirit of obedience to the Khalifa. Blessing in obedience. Respected elders, I will never draw into conclusion with the narration of a blessed companion of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam, as of Maulana Jalal bin Shams Sahib radiallahu anhu, who was mentioned about the level of obedience of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam embedded in the personality of Hazrat Muslim Maud radiallahu anhu. He said, he was the embodiment of obedience and obedience to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam. Once, in the time of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam, 2 or 3 non-Ahmadi mullahs came to Hajjah village and started to habituate foul languages upon the personality of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam in the mosque. There were only 2 or 3 Ahmadis in Hajjah at that time. These people came to call Maan that is the Muslim to debate with these non-Ahmadi mullahs. Maan who came to the service of Hazrat Aqdas Masih and sought permission for debates, on which the Prophet said, there is no permission to debates. Hearing this, Maan who went to Persia with Ahmadi friends of Persia, but refused to debate. Finally, when these mullahs started harassing Maan and other Ahmadis by saying that they did not have the courage to debate, then they came to the service of the Prophet stated the situations encountered and sought permission to debate. The Prophet replied, debate is not allowed. Maan who used to say that we usually spend the whole day outside the village, but he refused to take part in the debates. In the end, the effect of this edict of the Prophet was that some non-Ahmadi nobles drove these mullahs out of the village for reviling the Prophet and to investigate the matter. On the 2nd or the 3rd day, 15 to 16 men went to Qadian for Friday prayers. Is the person whom these mullahs called bad really like that? Or the friends came to the service of the Prophet and after the Jummah prayers, they asked for allegiance. Thus, they entered into the fold of Ahmadiyya. The late Maan who used to say, we believe that if there had been a debate, there would not have been a single Ahmadi at that time, since the language of the Prophet is blessed. In the absence of debate, the foul language of non-Ahmadi mullahs brought a bad effect on them, while the nobility of Ahmadis had them good fortune, and many people joined the Ahmadiyya community. It is taken from Delhi Al-Fazl Qadian, 23rd May 1941, page 3. That concludes the verse that is best and most commendable in the end. Holy Quran, chapter 4, verse 60. Elders, such caliber of obedience to the Prophet and his Khulafa are the best of conducts, worth relaying to the hearings of our progeny, to enable them realize the fact that we are truly the emulators or the blessed traits of the Holy Prophet and as a result becomes a unique epitome of the helpers of Allah. May Almighty Allah enable us to demonstrate and act in accordance to His commandments. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال: لا يطلب المؤمن من جهر واحد مرتين. Bukhari. Narrated by Hazrat Abu Hurairah, radiallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with him, said the Prophet of Allah, peace and blessing of Allah be upon him, a believer is never beaten twice in the same hole. Bukhari. Respected fathers and elders, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm highly delighted and humbled to be given another opportunity to stand before you to say some few words on the topic of Dars al-Hadith today, which you have just been informed a few minutes ago. When a person makes a laudable statement worthy of commending, people usually say he is being Solomonic. But little did they know that over and above Solomon, alayhi is another legend of extraordinary status in words of wisdom. And that personality is already in vogue, which is the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Hence, it will be a matter of naivety and living in the past for one to think that being Solomonic is the end of the road of legends in wisdom. Hence, if one wants to justify saying such about the above hadiths, one should not forget to mention that it's just an adage that this Muhammadic saying is such a Solomonic words of wisdom that should be enough for any man and woman of true faith as guiding principle for a peaceful life. This hadith is the number 31 treated in the selected book of Ahadith called the 40 Gems of Beauty on page 137 to 139. And the author, Hazrat Mr. Bashir Ahmad M.A. radiallahu anhu, on page 137 and 138, while commenting on it, said, this charming hadith holds a vast meaning. Its plain and simple purpose is that the true believer should remain alert and on guard. If he puts his hand in a hole, it means if he comes in contact with a person, party, or people, he sees to it that he is not beaten the second time. In other words, he gets alert after his very first experience and is saved from further injury, refusing to give the other party another chance to hurt him. By means of this observation, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessing of Allah be upon him, has enjoined on the Muslims to remain exceedingly alert and on guard, and described it as a characteristic of the true Muslim. That because of his inherent truthful disposition, he may be deceived once but is never deceived twice by the same person or in the same affair, and that profiting by each bitter experience, he tends further to strengthen his position and thus goes on opening for himself further avenues of progress, one after the other. Another aspect of the vast meaning this hadith holds is that on one hand, the Prophet ﷺ wanted us as believers to learn to be very careful and never to let go of our guards, and on another, wanted to warn us not to allow a question mark to stand in front of our beliefs, because our failures to be careful can be the reason why we may have to suffer misfortune repeatedly. And while someone may be forced to tell us to re-examine ourselves thoroughly, to know whether we are not to be blamed for hypocrisy. Because the Prophet ﷺ had elsewhere notified us about their characteristics, most importantly relevant, among which is they are never true to their words or profession of faith. No doubt the fact that the Holy Prophet ﷺ indicated elsewhere too that a believer is the most prized of all men in the world in another hadith. But does it really mean repeatedly from the same point and the source, and that one shouldn't learn his lesson? Exam is good and it's a means of progress for a student, but is it every day? Same paper, same subject, same class or level and same result, and one should never improve himself? One sure way by which man stumbles, fails and falls is influence of bad associates. And if care is not taken, one may continue to suffer misfortune from this one source many a time. Whereas the Holy Father of this divine community had also declared in his book, Our Teaching, page 10, that whosoever does not give up association with a bad companion who exercises an authority and an unhealthy influence over him, he is not of my community. Has Allah not admonished the believers, saying, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wa kunu ma'as sadiqin? How have you got into such association? Why have you allowed yourself to be carried away by their ways? Has Allah not admonished the believers, saying, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu ma'as sadiqin? Meaning, all you who believe, fear Allah and be with the truthful. Quran chapter 9, verse 120. Khilafat, amongst the greatest blessings of Allah, the Almighty, is one and so important that it's one of those blessings that have been declared Hamdulillah. It means rope of Allah, and it's only those who can ensure to be careful with their faith that will be lucky to hold on to it through commensurating good works and obedience. These, for sure, are, in other words, nothing else but being careful with our faith. Hence, it's amazing and worrisome to see some brothers that, in spite of being believers, I call them brothers here. One, because no other words to use more than calling them brothers. Otherwise, one sitting in front of elders should mention here that it is amazing to see some elders behaving the way that is less expected of them. They claim to be believers, but the way they behave will bring a question mark whether truly they are elders, not to talk like this of a believer. So it is amazing to see some and worrisome to see some brothers that, in spite of being believers, they still enjoy behaving like faithless people, doing things the way that is less expected of them. Yorùbá ìlànà say, ẹnikẹ́ni tó bá yọ ẹ̀dá òun burúkú a máa yọ òun ṣe. This means one who secretly does evil. Misfortune never ceases befalling such people or such two in secret. Does it really want it to impress anyone else except Allah and His Messenger? And is the blessing of faith in Allah and His Messenger not enough for us to be proud of? If truly we are believers, we should realize that being faithful is just another important step we need to take after adopting faith. And that faith without faithfulness is nothing but hypocrisy. And we must watch it not to prove dishonest with Allah and His Messenger, as He warned us, saying, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la takunu Allaha wa rasulahu wa takunu amanatikum wa antum ta'lamun. Meaning, oh you who believe, Prove not false, prove not hypocrite to Allah and His Messenger. No, prove false to yourself. When you try to deceive Allah, you deceive yourself. When you try to be hypocrite with Allah, you become hypocrite with your own self. Allah the Almighty says, prove not false to your trust, knowingly. Quran chapter 8 verse 28. Another reason, just to mention one more, is disobedience. And as Basim Maud said, having explained all these things, I repeat once more that you must not rest satisfied merely because in outward form you have taken bayat at my hand. The outward form means nothing. God sees what lies inside your heart, and He will deal with you on the basis of what He sees here. Lo and behold, I hear Him discharge my duty unto you by making it plain that sin is a poison. Do not take it. Disobedience to God is a dirty death which you should avoid. Turn to prayer that you should get the strength. And at the time of prayer, if a man does not firmly believe that Allah has power over everything, and he still don't well, he still going here and there to seek help and aid for whatever problem that has been falling him, then you should watch it. The promise Alexander said, turn to prayer that you should get the strength. At the time of prayer, if a man does not firmly believe that Allah has power over everything except what may be contained in a previous promise, such a one is not of my community. He who is caught in the tangle of worldly greed and never even raises his eyes to things which pertain to the next life is not of my community. Whosoever does not wholly and completely keep away from every sin and every evil action, like wine, gambling, looking lustfully at women, dishonesty, bribe, and from every kind of illegal gratification is not of my community. This is taken from our teaching, Ijtema. If we fail to protect ourselves from being repeatedly beaten from the same wound, then one may never be able to experience God. Because then one must have allowed himself to be entangled by this materialistic world. Therefore, we should do all good deeds with the proper care they deserve, forsaking evil from a real repulsion rising in the heart to safeguard our faith. May Allah continue to assist and make it easy and possible for each and every one of us. Allahumma ameen. Jazakumullah khairan for lending my humble self your ears and attention. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم وعلى عبده المسيح الموعود عليه السلام. Assalamualaikum my respected elders. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I've been asked to stand for Maulvi Nassim Ahmad Batsari, who due to unavoidable circumstance is not able to make it here. I really hope I'm able to do justice to the Darsul Mahfuzah. Fundamental guidance from the promised Isa alayhi salam for members of the community. These are from Mahfuzat volume 5, pages 194 to 195. On the mention of the plague, the promise Isa said, the torment of the plague is to think that the promise of God Almighty is about to be fulfilled. In the time of the Prophet, the punishment of killing was promised, even though the companions were also killed. But the same killing commanded the punishment for the infidels and martyrdom for the Muslims. Those are last says as the Muslims, they slew and were also slain in the cause of war. The standard of punishment is for the person to see which side is more destructive. So for those who are most destructive, there is torment, and this due to the disbelievers, because they were against the truth. They were slain because they were slain, and that's sort of the punishment for them during the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Today, we must fight in such a way that Allah Almighty has sent the plague as a punishment. It's meant to be seen whether the people of our Jama'ah die more or the opponents. Then it will be known to himself who was destroyed by this torment. Even if members of my Jama'ah die, then there is no problem with it, because the companions of Prophet Muhammad were also killed in wars. However, if any member of my Jama'ah says or does not say anything insulting, he will be saved from torment. When the battle of Badr and Uhud took place, did anyone think that what was the difference? Sometimes they won over the companions and the disbelievers won, while at other times the companions were victorious. However, there are some people whom God miraculously saved from being killed. Look at how Abu Bakr and Umar were saved in the battles. This is called a miracle, because otherwise death is for everyone. He said, the promised one is one who is mentioned in the Holy Quran. As it says, Allah has promised to those among you who believe and do good work. Quran chapter 24, verse 56. Otherwise, even if several other messiahs come and they are from other ummah, they will not be the promised one, because they are not from among those, as is written in the Holy Quran. Another guidance to be taken from the writing or from the statement of promised Messiah is the nazar of a non-believer. Mirza Imamuddin, who was a famous non-believer and one of the fiercest enemies of the promised Messiah, passed on July 6. Therefore, our esteemed friend, Sayyid Muhammad Ali Shah, also formally went to his funeral. And after reading the funeral, that he partook in the funeral, he regretted his action and probably published the following letter for the audience of Alaafin. He said, I am publishing this repentance letter because I have made a serious mistake. That is that I have read or I have observed the funeral of Mirza Imamuddin, who passed away on July 6th by mistake, and who showed symptoms of apostasy in his books. I prayed his janaza, so I am publishing this advertisement as a repentance letter and showing that I am disgusted with Imamuddin and the people who attended his funeral. And finally, I am taking back the funeral prayer and asking God Almighty for forgiveness for my sin. I want forgiveness. This humble one, Muhammad Ali Shah. Upon this, the promised Messiah said, someone should not be proud of anything. Nature is not separated from man. The nature of which man takes the first step is such that he does not separate from it. This is a place of great fear. Everyone should pray for the betterment of their lives thereafter. No matter your age, put your religion first. I take that again. No matter your age, put your religion first. The time has come when in the past, imaginary style and age were applied. But now, it's also difficult. The wise man should plan for the hereafter. The wise man should plan for the hereafter. We should pray to Almighty Allah that we are able to follow the footsteps and instructions of the promised Messiah alayhi salam. We should pray to Almighty Allah that we are able to follow the footsteps and instructions of the promised Messiah alayhi salam. These are the fundamental guidelines of the promised Messiah, the same to the members of the community. In short, from this very obvious that the promised Messiah has directed that anyone who opposes and is not a believer in him, as Muslims, as followers of the promised Messiah, you are not expected to partake in the janazah of such a person. May Almighty Allah enable us to benefit from the blessed saying of the promised Messiah alayhi salam. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. All protocols duly observed. We'll be having a brief discussion on non-communicable diseases this morning, and we'll be centering on hypertension and diabetes. Well, let me say that hypertension is a topic on its own that we can discuss extensively. So also is diabetes. Therefore, we may not have the ample time required to conveniently go through this discourse. Unfortunately, too, I have made effort to simplify and provide the information in the booklet. However, it is also not completely printed. So about 4 pages of what I submitted was not incorporated in this booklet. I wouldn't know. Maybe those in charge may have to look at how they can make member have a complete copy of this information. Let me say that health is a personal attitude, and that an individual must take responsibility for. And most times, God is kind enough to reward healthy attitude. What it means is that how old we are and how we get old. How we get old can affect how old we are, and in doing this, we can do a lot to change the course of how we get old. So today, we'll be looking at non-communicable diseases. By simple definition, a non-communicable disease is a disease that is not transmissible. This gives us an idea that, broadly speaking, diseases are classified in various ways. While we classify some as non-communicable, others can be classified as communicable. Communicable, most times infectious diseases that by means of contact with one another, these diseases can be transmitted. But for these ones we are talking about today, they are not transmissible. If I'm hypertensive, you sleep with me, we do all things together, we share things, you can never get hypertensive by that. However, for communicable diseases, it is not so. If I have tuberculosis and you are too close to me, you may get tuberculosis. It used to be that non-communicable diseases used to be the burden of the low socio-economic nations. But presently, in fact, they also have the larger proportion of even communicable diseases today when compared with developed nations. Unfortunately, we have not gone out of non-communicable diseases. We have also acquired communicable diseases. I will tell you, like malaria should probably be under infectious diseases, which is due to poor hygiene. We are burdened with it. Again, we are burdened with non-communicable diseases. You may get to some nations because of good hygiene, you don't have malaria. So at the end of this topic, this discussion, I expect that we have an overview of what non-communicable diseases are, and with respect to hypertension and diabetes, we have simple understanding of their definition, how they can be diagnosed, how they can be managed, what we can watch out for as symptoms, and how we can take personal responsibility to either reduce our risk of getting them, or also, even if you have gotten them already, to manage to self-manage them effectively as we move on the line. Non-communicable diseases such as cardiovascular diseases, stroke, cancer, diabetes, and chronic lung diseases, that's asthma and COPD, are collectively responsible for 70% of all deaths annually. Almost 3/4 of all non-communicable disease deaths, and 82% of the 16 million people who died prematurely, that's before their 70th birthday, occur in low and middle income countries like ours. Each year, more than 15 million people die from non-communicable diseases between the ages of 30 and 69. That's premature death. 85% of these premature deaths also occur in low and middle income countries. The rise in the non-communicable diseases is actually predicated on modifiable factors such as smoking, alcohol, then sedentary lifestyle, and what we eat. Alhamdulillah, Allah has halved the risk of non-communicable diseases for a true believer. In that you are not going to take alcohol, you are also not going to smoke, and actually these are the worst risk factors. The other two are equally worse or bad, which is sedentary lifestyle. Life of comfort as we grow old, we tend to attract life of comfort. More people are available to us to send on errands, and the means also become equally available. So we do less of what we can do on our own, so therefore we may be increasing our risk of these diseases. Then it is not whatever they serve us we must eat. We can choose what to eat by consciously aware that what we eat affects our health. So the focus of this discourse, like I said earlier on, is on hypertension and diabetes. So going forward, I'll be speaking mostly on hypertension and diabetes. Hypertension has been called different names, like raised blood pressure, simply in simple terms, or high blood pressure, a delirium, something that is boiling. So it's a condition in which the blood vessels have persistently raised blood pressure. Hypertension is a serious medical condition and can increase the risk of heart problem. Hypertension on its own wouldn't have been a problem, but because almost every part of our body is supplied by blood, so when there's an hypertension, every part of our body is at risk of the consequences of hypertension. Majorly, we have the kidney, the heart, the brain, the eye, that are the risk of end sort of hypertension. It is a major cause of premature death worldwide, with upwards of 1 in 4 men and 1 in 5 women being hypertensive. In Nigeria, in 2010, it was said that about 20.8 million Nigerians were hypertensive, and it was projected that by 2030, about 39.1 of Nigerians will be hypertensive. So it has been in the range of 25% of Nigerians being hypertensive. It's like saying that if we are 2,000 here, 500 of us are hypertensive. And don't be surprised, it is so. We just had a health outreach in Ekwe, and I'm sure also the one that was done here too. The statistics will reveal that close to 35% of people, if not more, are hypertensive. So it is real. What is the value quoted? Blood pressure is actually measured in millimeters of mercury. There are two values. We have the upper value, which is called systolic blood pressure, and diastolic blood pressure. The systolic blood pressure is the pressure measured when the heart pumps blood out. That's the figure on the upper part, and in between two pumping, because the heart pumps for minimum for a normal human being of 60 times per minute and 100 times per minute, between 60 and 100. So in between this beat, there is a rest. The pressure measure at that rest point is called diastolic pressure. Usually, when one's blood pressure is 140/90, it is said to be hypertensive. There are recent reviews or downward reviews that they were having 130 or thereabout, but the value still being used largely is 140/90. For elders who are more than 65, because as you grow old, I'll give you an example. When you buy hose to maybe connect water from from a tap, you can see that the hose is very pliable. You can fold it and it will be pumping your water. When the hose has been beaten by rain and sun, after 1 year, the hose becomes an iron and becomes a stick. And if you want to bend it or twist it, it will break. So also our blood vessels become as we grow old. The pliability of those blood vessels reduces. So therefore their capability to distend reduces. And when they now consume, so the pressure inside it will increase. So for those who are 65 and above, these are the factors in. They now look at the blood pressure of 150/90. This will be acceptable for them. Therefore, there is no way you will see that you are going to be hypertensive until you check. You will know your blood pressure except you check. So it is important we take steps to check our blood pressure. Hypertension, what causes it? It's difficult to say that this is the cause of hypertension, but there are factors that are related to hypertension. Being overweight, when your BMI is more than 25 kilogram per meter square. BMI is the relationship between your height, your weight and your height. The weight in kilogram and your height in meters. That your weight will be divided by your height times 2. So the square of your height, your weight divided by the square of your height will give you your BMI. Is what we can do ourselves. Our height hardly changes when we have attained adulthood. It is our weight that changes. Your height 5 years ago is still your height. 10 years ago is still your height. But your weight has changed. So what it means is that as you continue to add weight, you are likely to have increased the risk of hypertension increases. taking too much of salt. You know, when I tasted the food yesterday, I said, yes, these people are actually cooking food for Asabula. The afternoon rice that I took was almost saltless. And the night old was moderately salty. In fact, if you can eat that first one, that is good for you. So that I will not repeat when we get there. Because salt that we add to food is actually does not add anything to our body. If at all, it injures the body. It only increases the palatability of the food. It is not an ingredient. It is not a nutrient that the body needs. So, Ansara, please learn from the food good. Not taking alcohol or drinking too much of it. Caffeine or coffee, you know, a lot of people don't want to sleep. They take it so that as stimulant. Nicotine has a sympathetic stimulation to the blood vessel, so it increases the pressure. Smoking also releases nicotine and also causes a lot of damage. Not sleeping too well, not sleeping enough, and not having deep sleep or sleep that is intermittently interrupted can predispose us to risk. This leads to release of epinephrine in our body that also causes hypertension. Age is a grace of God. Alhamdulillah that we are 40 and above. It is a grace of God, but it comes with a risk. So age is, as you grow old, naturally you are predisposed to this too. Then being black or black Caribbean descent is a risk, and living in a deprived status. Allah has consolation for us, and our believer is a consolation. So, however, there are conditions that can actually cause hypertension that have been identified, and I'll just mention a few of them. These include people who are obese. Obesity actually starts with a BMI of 30 and above, and who have obstructive sleep apnea. They sleep, they snore. Those people need to check their blood pressure. They are not able to have a deep sleep. Even when they wake up, they still look as if they are not rested. They sleep, but they are not rested. So they have hypertension, kidney disease, renal artery stenosis, narrowing of the pipe that supplies the artery blood. It can also cause it. There are other conditions that may be a cause. There are medications. Taking too much of the caffeine, enzymes can damage our kidney. Infectious condition like glomerulonephritis can also damage the kidney. If you have sore throat, take a check, because sore throat has been related to kidney damage. So, how do we know that we are hypertensive? Hypertension is not routine. You cannot know. And most times in the early stage, you don't actually have any symptoms. You sleep well. By the time hypertension gives symptoms, it is already complicated. So, but symptoms can be like headache, persistent headache, not relieved by paracetamol, early morning vomiting, generalized body weakness. These are some of the symptoms that can result from hypertension. Managing hypertension is largely personal responsibility. How I educate people about managing hypertension is like hunger. Hunger does not have it has a cure. It is by eating, but it does not have an everlasting cure. That I ate yesterday or I ate today, if I'm alive tomorrow, I must eat. So you cannot say the food you have eaten yesterday will carry you for tomorrow and the day after. Unfortunately, people when they are told that they are hypertensive, they are given drug for 2 weeks. The next time you see them after 6 months, you say, I was told that I was hypertensive and I used the drug. The blood pressure is still high. Because if blood pressure is high, it is a danger. You just hear that your neighbor was fine and said yesterday, you don't find very active, hardworking, and he dropped it. I have seen instances, and I'm sure you have also seen instances. So, the only way we can take steps is by measuring our blood pressure. Most times there are no signs. And usually hypertension, they are categorized. Some in the early stage, without other complications, they look at you, your lifestyle, they just okay, they may not necessarily place you on drug, go and use some lifestyle changes and come back so that we will see if that has improved. Some other times you look at the blood pressure. If it is high, particularly a blood pressure of 160, 110 or 160, 100, they may want to place you on drug right immediately. Most times, not single drug is used for hypertension. It's a combination of drugs. Aside drugs, there are things we need to do. We take less of salt. It is advised that the total salt we should take in a day should not be more than a teaspoonful in a day. Then, I should also eat balanced diet. Take a lot of the fruits and then vegetable. We don't take alcohol. We exercise regularly and lose weight. Some of these are also used as prevention of hypertension. Then we drink less of coffee and tea and cola. So let me quickly talk about diabetes. Diabetes, even though it's not as common as hypertension, it is also not equally as diagnosed as hypertension because it is more of invasive disease. It is costlier to diagnose diabetes. If you go to another hospital, they just put a stick, they read your blood pressure. Maybe the cost may be 200 naira. If you want to diagnose diabetes, the cost may be between 500 and 1,000. So it is like, it has been identified that those who currently have diabetes in Nigeria, they are identified, they are just about a third of those who have it. So the current statistic is that over 6 million Nigerians are diabetic adults. And what it means is that over 18 million Nigerians are actually diabetic. What is diabetes? In simple terms, it means that the persistently raised sugar in the blood. Sugar is the currency of the body. The only English that the body understands to use to move around is sugar, glucose. And this sugar is so useful. However, but it was within certain limit. When it becomes too high, persistently too high, for a long period, it becomes diabetes. And sugar is controlled by an hormone in the body, a substance, a chemical, insulin, produced by pancreas. So what is what is diabetes is either that there is no production of that hormone at all, or that hormone is produced, the body is unable to use it, or it is not produced enough. Unfortunately, diabetes and hypertension, they are twin evils. One invites the other. If one has one first, just check. Except someone that is very careful, within 10 years, you will have the second one. They are twin evils. They go hand in hand. The unfortunate cause is obesity. So you now have someone who combines the thing and it has been referred to as a metabolic syndrome. Worldwide, over 422 million people as of 2020 were said to have diabetes. Diabetes is the leading cause of blindness in the UK, while vitamin deficiency is the leading cause of blindness in the low socioeconomic countries. Diabetes is the leading cause of leg amputation or limb amputation in developed countries, while trauma, Okada, all those stuff are the leading cause of amputation in Nigeria. What it means is that if you continue to have diabetes, limb amputation in Nigeria will double, because most of that they don't have much trauma, We still continue to have traumas on a daily basis per minute, and we are also increasing the rate of hypertension. There are different types of diabetes. Majorly, there is what is described as diabetes type 1. Usually, it is said that this occurs as a sort of absence of production of the hormone that I talked about earlier, insulin, and it occurs in the young people. Worldwide, about 9 million people are said to live with type 1 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is the commonest, and over 90% of diabetes people have diabetes, type 2 diabetes. There's also diabetes that can occur in pregnancy. A pregnant woman, just because she's pregnant, can also become diabetes. We call that one gestational diabetes. There is a prelude to diabetes. It does not just occur. For someone to become diabetic, there will have been a change over time. So there is a pre-diabetic phase, or a phase of glucose intolerance that occurs in people. So those are some of the stages. There are other types of diabetes that I don't want to bore us with. Risk factors for diabetes are as the same with that of hypertension. So I won't bother myself with that. And for the other thing I will just include is that there is family history as a risk factor for diabetes and hypertension. If my father was diabetic, my mother is diabetic or hypertensive, I also stand the chance of becoming diabetic or hypertensive. If brothers, sisters are so, one should also not think that, it is just my brother, that it is your brother. It means that it can be you. Symptoms of diabetes include taking water excessively, getting weak, being tired, blood vision, not being able to see well, tingling sensation. They call it pins and needles. It's as if you have pinching. It can also occur in the legs. There will also be paired, there will be erectile dysfunction. You know this is important. Both the hypertension and then diabetes can lead to our inability to discharge our responsibility towards our partners. So, if you take of our health, we also be doing what is expected of us. There will be excessive weight loss, excessive urination, and adults urinate usually once in the night or not at all. There are other things that can cause excessive urination. As we grow, our prostate is also increasing, so that can also cause excessive urination. But by the time we need to urinate twice at night, we should check our sugar. By the time we urinate more than 7 times in a day, we should also check our sugar. It may be diabetes. Drive out. How is diabetes diagnosed? At the end stage, we also have symptoms. So we need to check our blood sugar. There are various methods that have been various ways of diagnosing diabetes. I'll just talk about some. We talk about fasting blood sugar. That is fasting for 8 hours and you now test your sugar. If it gives you a value that is less than 100, it is usually normal. If it is a value between 100 and 125, it is pre-diabetic. And if it is a value of 126 and higher, it is diabetic. It is found diabetic. You don't need to have symptoms. For random blood sugar, this is done without having to fast. It has no relation to fasting or food. The way you feel it, you can do it. Less than 140 is normal. That's milligram per dl. If it's between 140 and 199, it is also pre-diabetic. If it is 200 or more, in the presence of symptoms, it is also diabetic. There are other ways to test sugar. They can test our hemoglobin, and this actually gives a good idea over time. Because if I fast well now and do sugar test, it may give me a good result. But that will not affect my hemoglobin. There's no glycated hemoglobin. It takes about 3 months control, 2 to 3 months control to have a controlled glycated hemoglobin. So that can also be tested, but it's not done frequently. Then and do other glucose tests. Treatment of diabetes most times also depends on lifestyle changes and use of medication. The complications for diabetes and hypertension include stroke, renal failure. In the US, most end-stage renal failure is due to diabetic nephropathy. The blindness death is also due to diabetic retinopathy. Even if they have it there, God has provided means. Fairly, they are burdened with dialysis. They are burdened with kidney transplant. The burden of having a renal disease in Nigeria, end-stage renal failure, chronic renal disease in Nigeria is a death sentence. There is no way out. It will consume you, consume everybody around you, and it will take you. A man just died from our place of work. He retired and then died 8 years after. So about 68. Why? Before he retired, at retirement, he established a blog industry. Half drop. He bought an hotel that he converted to his house. He's from my state. All these things were sold to take care of him. He has a daughter in the US that was sending money additionally to him. He consumed all this, and his burial was done in August. He was buried in August. After finishing everything, wallahi, I have had doctors who say that if they have renal disease, they don't tell that they should not take care of them. If there is no means to get dialysis free, that they should not sell anything. They should just allow the disease to come and kill them. So what I'm trying to say is that when hypertension and diabetes become complicated, no one can take care of it anymore. You cannot by your means. You will need communal support to be able to take care of yourself. In Nigeria, there is no such support. There is no such support. A session of dialysis in my hospital currently is maybe like 100,000 averagely. In some private hospitals, it may be more than. If you not need 1 or 2 in a week, that's like the average of maybe 150 to 200,000. If you need 8 in a month, you know what it means. How many do you need in a year? So that is what these diseases can do. So they also can cause quick aging, such as dementia, erectile dysfunction, frequent voice, skin infection, depression, dental diseases, dental problems. So these are some of the complications that can happen with diabetes. I'm rounding up, and that can happen with hypertension and diabetes. The prevention of these 2 diseases is under what I've talked earlier on, under healthy diet. The more salt you eat, the higher your blood pressure. Aim to eat less than 6 grams of salt per day, which is about a teaspoonful. Eating a low-fat diet that includes lots of fiber, such as whole grain rice, bread, and pasta, and plenty of fruit and vegetable also helps to lower blood pressure and reduce blood sugar. Aim to eat 5 portions of fruit and vegetable every day. Avoid alcohol. I do not need to bother ourselves if we are in the other gathering, we'll be talking about that. Lose weight. Being overweight forces your heart to overwork and dampen the sensitivity of the insulin receptor in your body, and this therefore predisposes us to hypertension and then diabetes. So if we lose weight is going to help us. And if we eat healthy diet, we are not going to gain weight unnecessarily. Being active is central to controlling hypertension or preventing them and diabetes. Is to have 150 minutes of exercise in a week, not less than 30 minutes per day, and not less than on 3 occasions in a week. You must actively exercise. Find time to do that. You can divide it to 30 minutes 5 times in a week, 50 minutes 3 times in a week, 40, that is the minimum. You can do more. This helps our body in a lot of ways. If you want to know, the Christians that don't pray, ask them to see that way you see that as a Muslim. You will know that to be a Muslim is a grace of God. You will find that they cannot fold their legs. They can only sit and stretch legs. So cutting down on caffeine and tea will also help us and stop it smoking. Importantly too, we also need to pray for good health and also ask Allah to bestow on us and our community good health. If we do all this, largely we'll be able to prevent hypertension and diabetes. We'll also be able to manage effectively hypertension and diabetes before they become complicated. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-afiyah wa tamama al-afiyah wa shukra al-afiyah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salli ala nabiyina, salli ala Muhammadin, salli ala nabiyina, salli ala Muhammadin, salli ala habibina, salli ala Muhammadin, salli ala rahimina, salli ala Muhammadin.